TikTok is now barred from federal devices due to concerns about Chinese spying and manipulation. There's even a bill in Congress to ban the app outright in the U.S. Shira Ovide is writing about it for the Washington Post. Shira, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Is there evidence that the Chinese are spying or manipulating Americans through TikTok?
It's a good question, and it's a really difficult one to answer, right? I think a lot of the concern about TikTok is about the theoretical risk because TikTok is owned by a Chinese internet company called ByteDance. And because in China, there's not much separation between government and private enterprise, there is concern that TikTok might be manipulated by Chinese authorities to either spy on Americans or manipulate what we see. And, there's been some evidence here and there, notably TikTok acknowledged recently that a number of executives looked at the activity of journalists who were reporting on TikTok and its activities. And that's the kind of thing that plays into the worst fears about TikTok and the ownership by this Chinese internet company.
You write that these bans, quote, hardly ban anything. Why do you say that?
Well, I think we have to look at what is happening in many states and also in the federal government as largely symbolic. So you have these states more and more each day that are saying that government employees can't use TikTok on devices that governments own or on Wi-Fi networks that are run by governments. So where we've seen this maybe most notably is in public universities. The University of Texas just said that they would prohibit TikTok from people using TikTok when connected to university Wi-Fi networks. But of course, students have other ways of using TikTok. They can just disable Wi-Fi and use TikTok over their data plans on their phones, right? So that's why I'm saying that these protests or these measures to air quotes ban TikTok are kind of on the margins. They're largely symbolic as a way of registering disapproval of TikTok.
What about an outright ban in the U.S.? Do you think that would be effective?
I mean, it would be, or it would be effective. It is a very difficult thing to do, right? Donald Trump talked about and briefly implemented a TikTok ban when he was president. There is, as you said, another bill or two pending in Congress. Look, banning TikTok from being used in the United States, it risks angering many people. TikTok is used by 100 million plus Americans. And there are First Amendment concerns about banning one or a particular app, right? We have to really consider whether in a bid to protect Americans from the Chinese government, we risk doing what China's government does, which is to ban people from using individual apps.
You write that a secret U.S. committee has been negotiating with TikTok since 2019. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, there's this committee, I won't bore you with details, but CFIUS is the acronym by which it's known, and it essentially oversees any investment by foreign entities in the United States. It looks at a kind of very wide range of corporate investments. And one thing that it's been doing literally for years is kind of imagining what could America do to solve some of these concerns about TikTok and Chinese ownership while also permitting the app to operate in the United States. And, it's proposed some pretty draconian terms, including, that the United States government would have the ability to appoint board members who would have independent oversight of TikTok, and that there would be kind of a corporate minder in the United States that would sort of oversee TikTok's algorithm and its computer code. These are pretty unprecedented measures. And from my colleagues' reporting, this has been controversial within CFIUS itself. And I think it's really going to be hard to strike a balance, right, between an outright ban, which is difficult, and allowing TikTok to operate as it is right now, which is contentious.
So what about a national privacy law? What would that do? How would that work?
Yeah, I think when you talk about the concerns about TikTok, one, I think, reasonable pushback is, look, if you're concerned about apps surveilling everything that people do everywhere they go in the world, Lots of American companies do that too, right? There's obviously a difference between a company that's based in China and one based in, California, like Facebook or Meta. But it's also true that there are very few national restrictions on what companies can do with our data, how much information they can collect from our phones. There are really so few restrictions, federal restrictions, on those types of activities. And so the people who are critical of these efforts to ban TikTok, one thing they say is, one thing that would patch some of these concerns is if there were a federal privacy law that protected us from all apps that harvest our data, American and Chinese alike.
And very quickly, Shira, do we know how TikTok's algorithm works? Can there be more transparency into that, into how they're collecting information about the users?
There can be more transparency, and I think this is something that people have talked about with, again, all companies, whether it's American companies like Twitter and Facebook or TikTok. But it's true that we don't know a lot about how the TikTok algorithm works. And unlike other apps, it's essentially all algorithms, right? Everything that we see on the TikTok app is not because of who we follow, but it's on what TikTok's computers believe we want.
All right, Shira, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future Government Matters interviews.